see these people like, it's going to replace like entire coding teams. And I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about that. But what it does do is it lets me take an idea and bring it to life.
AI isn't the future, it's now. And whether you're in HR, sales, operations, or leadership, the choices you make today will determine whether you thrive or get left behind.
Today's guest is someone who lives at the intersection of pixels and precision. Eric Levy is the founder of Clean Plate FX, a visual effects studio specializing in beauty work and seamless compositing for film and television. With nearly a decade of experience leading high-end projects, y'all, many of these are under strict NDAs here, he has mastered the art of invisible artistry. You have seen his work, even if you didn't know it. He's also diving into the future of machine learning in post-production and recently lent his talents to the powerful political documentary, Majority Rules. Now, whether it is scrubbing blemishes frame by frame or tackling democracy by design, Eric's work always makes a statement, even when it's silent. Eric, what's up? Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
How did I do there? Did I miss anything?
That feels just about right.
Because a lot of this is very foreign to me. So I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I used a lot of AI to help me put that together, but I could have been speaking a different language. So help me understand, what do you do if you were talking to like a 5-year-old?
Okay, I have a visual effects studio. It's me and my business partner, and we help TV shows, movies, commercials, streaming shows, do visual effects. So a lot of what we do is invisible. You wouldn't even know we were there. So for example, this TV right here, if you were shooting this on the TV show, you'd just have it off and then we would add this later. So we've worked on shows where you're adding hundreds of TV screens and that lets them make a decision later about what's going to be on there. You know, often when you're shooting, you haven't licensed either the artwork or the show that's going to be on there. And so that decision gets made later. Anytime you see a cell phone on a show, we may have been there. And that goes to, you know, the screen will be off. You put the screen on, and then sometimes we'll design what's actually on the screen. Sometimes we'll get that from another vendor. There was famously on Game of Thrones, remember that thing where there was like a water bottle in the shot?
Yes, I heard about that. Yeah.
So we take out the water bottles. We take out the microphones that dip down into frame. We take out all those production fix mistakes that happen along the way.
Oh, very interesting.
This show has no mistakes ever.
How did you get into that kind of work? Because when I'm thinking people are getting into like production and stuff, they're going for the fun, flashy, exciting stuff, not like, hey, let me go hide this water bottle.
Right. So I went to college and learned visual effects and then went into filmmaking. And through having made movies and going to film festivals, I was meeting other independent filmmakers and independent producers. And me and my partner moved out to LA in whatever year. And in order to, you know, trying to be a writer and a director, there's not much money there, especially at first. And so we were doing visual effects for all these people that we had met at the film festivals. And a lot of what's needed is sort of like the boring work. You know, I've exploded things, I've smashed things, I've added smoke and fire and all that. But I came to really like what I call objective visual effects because you don't get bogged down in 1,000 director notes where they're like, I want it to feel blue, but don't actually make it blue. I just want it to like feel blue. And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I do know that I've taken the water bottle out of the shot and that is done.
Oh my God. I love that. I can totally see how that would make your life so much easier. Now, this is really interesting because we have not touched on anything like this on the AI Voice for Victim podcast. How are you envisioning AI changing the way that you work today?
So I don't have to envision it. It's already happened and happening. And mostly what I like to use it for is not the sort of generative video or generative AI side of things. What we use it for is two ways: creating tools to make our workflow more efficient and to take out human error. And the other way is to find tools that exist and kind of bend them towards visual effects. So probably the biggest, splashiest thing that we've done is there's these machine learning 3D head trackers where it finds a person's head and then fits a 3D model onto that head. So if I were moving around, I could send you guys a video of what this looks like. It would find my face and put a 3D model on there. And what that lets you do then is then we can design tools around that once you have the model. There's already sort of non-machine learning tools that do that. So those ones, you have to have a person operate the computer and sort of guide it along. With the one that we use, you say, do it on this shot. Boop. A couple minutes later, it's done. And so what we can do is take something that would take like weeks and weeks and weeks with someone else having to track it, or we have to manually track it, and turn that into like overnight or 3 days. And now overnight, if I have 300 shots done, we can get to work on those. Now, does it work on every shot? No. I don't need it to work on every single shot. It works on like 85 to 90%. That's huge. So for those remaining like really hard shots where the focus is changing or the person's spinning around in a circle, those you can do the old way, and that's fine because you've saved so much time by automating this. And, you know, it's not generating the final pixels. It's just fitting right into the pipeline alongside any other tool, which that's awesome. I became like very obsessed about this 3D head tracking stuff and have sort of jumped from model to model to model as this academic work becomes more advanced. You can kind of take that same workflow and jump to the next best one.
So what you're saying basically is that this explosion of AI right now is really just old news.
No, because it just keeps pushing forward and forward and forward. Like a lot of what we're doing is using Cursor and Claude to automate stuff that we'd have to do manually. And then when you're doing it manually, it's just mistake after mistake after mistake. Like, and that's annoying for everybody, you know, like the producer you're working with or the post supervisor. Oops, sorry about that. Oops, sorry about that. Like, you're just taking all that out and turning it into something that's you no longer have to think about.
What is Cursor? I'm very familiar with Claude, but I don't know what Cursor is.
Yeah, so Cursor is basically a variant of VS Code, which is like this place where you do the computer coding. And what it can do, instead of dragging your coding files over, like your Python file, into Cursor and talking to into Claude and talking to Claude about it, that's built into the coding environment that you're working in. So now it can see like, here's 10 tools I'm working on. I can reference those tools right in line. It can kind of see everything in my folder. And when it recommends the code changes to you, you can just click accept and they're all in there.
So Cursor is very supportive of like the development community, right? So imagine you had a junior or mid-level developer on tap at any point, right? You use this to help generate code, to be able to integrate things, right? Really accelerate the ability to deliver code.
I mean,
right?
It's amazing because I am not a programmer. I think I took a computer science class 20 years ago in college and kind of got like, oh, I get conceptually how this stuff works and if then and for and all that sort of stuff. But the granular sort of syntax,
right?
I don't know that.
So he's defining vibe coding, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the folks that don't know how to actually write code, right? Not that it's a knock on it. My degree is in computer science, right? So I actually understand the syntax, but folks that are vibe coding are out there just saying, hey, I'm using natural language processing to talk to it to generate something because I have an idea. Not just an idea that I want to picture, I want you to build an application, right? The other thing I'd say people know about Cursor is that Cursor, I guess last year was 100 million ARR company with only 10 employees.
Crazy.
Right? That is insane amount of revenue to generate through 10 people, right? And so if you think about that at scale, people are using Cursor and Claude to really pump out a lot more code and applications. And now Claude more recently in their 3.7 Sonnet release
Really
has a
good.
lot more coding functionality. And then folks are like, okay, are they trying to compete more with Cursor than...
Well, it's folded into Cursor, and it's just right so often.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff that I'm doing, I think, you see these people like, it's going to replace like entire coding teams. And I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about that. But what it does do is it lets me take an idea and bring it to life. And then if I need a developer, like a lot of the stuff we've worked on, I'll hire a developer for the sort of base functionality, and then I can expand it out from there. Or I can build a UI for it, or I can, so yeah, I guess it is replacing people.
I think well, there's a couple of things. We always talk about, I say it replaces a lot of processes at times, right? And if your job is to only manually manipulate that process, then yeah, you're in trouble, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about, one of the things you said earlier was, we talk about this quite a bit on the show, is about flipping the time equation. You mentioned that 85-90% of the time, it can work for that specific use case and give you weeks back.
Yeah.
So that you can focus on something else. And that's the point that we try to continue to make with folks, regardless of the application of AI. A lot of it is about speed and optionality, right? You have the ability now to try a lot of different things, a lot of different ways, but do it much faster. And then you can focus on the things that you want, the more gnarly explosions, or the things that don't fit in that 10 or 15% bucket. How you were going to replace VX, or what were you saying? Or the industry may not be replaced?
I think what I see in our company is, what I'm hoping happens is, now I can do, let's say, double, triple, 4 times whatever the amount of work. These TV shows have the money budgeted to do work. So now, instead of doing beauty work on 1 actor, now you can do it on 2, because you can adjust the price, because it is so much more efficient than it was before. It's just like when CGI and when VFX became kind of more democratized with After Effects and being able to use like a home computer to do this stuff. That didn't cut down on the amount of VFX that were going on. It made so you were doing more, like TV shows. It used to be like crazy to say you were going to do visual effects in them. And now you have like VFX driven TV shows. So I'm hoping that's what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was recently listening to a different podcast talking about some quotes from James Cameron, right? Mm-hmm. And he was talking about embracing, so James Cameron from Avatar, correct?
Yep.
Right. And so you imagine the type of visual effects that go into, a series like Avatar. And he surprised some folks because he was saying basically to really lean into it, and some of the new things that can be created, right? I always use the old analogy of like when the painters and then photographers came along, it didn't stop people from painting.
No, they just turned to abstract painting, and photorealism became not the goal at that point. They were like, let's go dive into the subconscious.
Right. And then go into motion pictures, and then it didn't stop photography or painting. Right. And then so it's an evolution. So the folks and the naysayers, to your point, you can crank out a lot more. These folks have budgets. It's not as if some of these, I would imagine, these writers and producers want to take 3 to 4 years for everything to come out. I imagine they would want to release more of their ideas faster.
Yeah. It's like, well, first of all, James Cameron is a like massive pioneer in visual effects. And if he sees the sort of writing on the wall here, his point is, I don't think tentpole studio movies can survive with these budgets.
Right.
And so we need to embrace whatever it takes to cut the budget. Now that guy is like insanely obsessive about what he does. So I think he's working with that Stable Diffusion company, right?
Yeah, I was going to say in full transparency, he does have a different motivation also.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think he would align himself with something
fair
unless he saw the possibility in it. Now, I think there's an argument to be made about like the sort of ethics or morality on using copyrighted material as training data and then spitting out something that isn't that training data, that's a whole other thing. But I guess as long as the output doesn't cross any copyright barriers.
Yeah, I think that's what the case that James Cameron was making, was that the onus needs to be on the folks that have copied it, not on the large language models and the companies that are allowing you to produce it, right? The output of it.
I kind of find, obviously I use these tools,
right?
So I'm not saying I'm not a hypocrite, but what I find annoying about this is if I were to make a composite using like this photograph and that photograph, and if I don't license those photographs, that's why I carry E&O insurance. I will get sued because that person made that thing and they're like, hey, you can't just remix that into your work. And same with music. You can't just remix that and then get the royalties off that music. But because this is taking literally everything that humans have ever created and outputting something new that's not quite, there's so much training data that it doesn't necessarily output the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so you get to, because you're a giant corporation who can battle any lawsuit that comes out, you can do whatever you want. And it's ethical, but I can't do that. And if I use your tool for free, I don't know. It just bothers me. But I also think it's basically unstoppable.
Correct. Two things can be true. And both of those things are correct.
And I'm using Cursor to code and still hiring developers here and there, but they're not getting hired for everything because I'm using these tools.
So you're using Cursor to code, you're using Claude. What else are you using and how are you using it?
Let's see. Other AI tools.
Or are those two the main ones?
Those are the main things I'm using. It's using the 3D head trackers to then code on top of those. And it's like that I hired a developer for over the course of many years, but then I'll add features myself.
I'm always like in my mind, I have these like visuals of like Tom Cruise and like Mission Impossible, like ripping the different faces off. I saw one of your LinkedIn videos where you were showing the 3D kind of face tracking thing. I was like, I don't know what this is or why, but this seems very interesting and cool. But again, I think the thing that you keep saying, which is positive, right, is that there's still a human in the loop, right, in multiple ways, right? Yep. Whether it's developers or whether it's the reviewing and the output and the interactions. I tell folks all the time, it's not about just replacing engineers and this and that. Again, it's speed and optionality, man. You're going to get a lot more content out. A lot of different things can come out faster. You can ideate in a more visual way, right? So now it's not just me writing down something and then I'm kind of like pantomiming it, trying to figure out how to convince you what I'm doing. I can actually make a video, I can make a song, I can make an image or wireframe, and I don't have to be the person that knows how all of those things actually work. I just can talk to it in natural language.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to unleash a tool that lets people create something they'd never be able to create before. So if I can't draw that well, I guess now you sort of can.
Now you can.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all a double-edged sword. In a way, you're like,
okay, go in. What's the double-edged sword here?
There's something about it when you've spent so much time learning a craft and then someone can do that craft like that is annoying.
Maybe.
It's pretty annoying.
And when I say maybe by that, we talk about it, and I'm not going to use the same analogy because I think she's going to beat me up on different analogies I continuously use, but the idea that you're a craftsman, right? That you've got enough experience that you understand how to wield these tools,
yes,
right? And what the output is expected. The problem is it's not, people will oversimplify it and they say, well, anyone can do this. Like, no, not really, because not anyone knows what to do with that.
Yeah, and it's also much of it is mediocre.
I can use Cursor and Claude. I cannot do what you're doing or talking about. I can't even say the words.
Right, because you need that domain expertise.
Correct.
In order to create these very specific things for that domain.
Yeah. The way I see it when you talk about, this double-edged sword, right? One person can be an artist, now everyone can be an artist. I kind of liken it to diamonds and cubic zirconia, right?
Yes.
Okay, everybody can grab a 3-carat cubic zirconia, but it's going to depend on, I guess, what is your own personal values when it comes to that thing. And I think that's where people lose sight from things, right? Because if it is of value to you to have the real diamond, then you better figure out how to save the money and make it happen, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about it in terms of filmmaking this morning. And like, let's say, so CG has sort of crossed this barrier to let you do whatever you want.
And what is
right
CG?
now? It's computer graphics. Right now, it's just very expensive to do, but you can do anything you can imagine if you can afford it. Now, AI may come in, and Gen AI may make that more accessible to people in the same way that it used to be you could only shoot on film to create a movie. And then these really good digital cameras came out, and now you could make something for way cheaper. And it may not be at the same like perfect fidelity as that 35 millimeter film, but not everything has to be, you know, especially how much are people watching stuff on social media versus going into a movie theater to watch a movie, you know? It's like there's this tool called Wonder Dynamics, which lets you record something like you could record this and then click a button and replace me and I'd be a robot. And you can use their stock robot, or you can upload your own 3D model and then I'm that robot or alien or whatever. Is this ready to replace James Cameron and Avatar? No. But it is a tool for like, you could use it for social media to make like something funny or something whatever, or proof of concept. Like not everything needs to be feature film ready. I see a lot of people in visual effects sort of criticizing the tools of like, this would never get approved by a director. And you're like, well, not everything is being made for
that level
kind of
of
that
consumption.
final picture. Yeah. It's like a lot of stuff's just being made for this.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Scroll.
Scroll.
I mean, I see that, you know, the parallel I always tell folks is like, you know, I saw the same thing happen, you know, 20 years ago in the music industry, right? When people were able to make their own beats and things at home, right? Because I remember the first time someone showed me Soulja Boy on YouTube in like 2006 or 7, right? And I was like, this kid made this whole album in his bedroom.
Yeah.
And went, you know, to be like this superstar. Like, who are we to judge and say that, oh, well, it would have never been produced by Sony Music or this and that? That's not the point. We've democratized intelligence with AI, but now we've also democratized creativity to some extent, right? And so to your point, it's like, yeah, everything doesn't need to be at the movie theater, right? There may be, you know, YouTube shorts. There may be, you know, all of these different things, but why are we limiting creativity to folks that have the biggest budgets? Right? Like, how is that fair? Right? We talk about AI voice of victim. People talk about this. Like, you can be a voice and you can have all these creative ideas. And now the ability for, you know, super intelligence and extreme creativity, the cost is near zero. Right? It's another thing that we have to talk more about when we do these shows is that people don't understand the costs and the technical aptitude needed, right? Or required to use these. The cost for ChatGPT or any of these other things is $20 or less a month, right? Down to zero. You can put it on your phone for those that aren't aware, right? And the reason why I bring these points up, Eric, is because a lot of times folks they make a lot of assumptions that they don't understand, right? Because everyone talks in the abstract about AI and what is it. And we're in this tight-knit bubble, right? And so for us, we're trying to be on a mission to move people from AI anxious to AI curious. And part of that is to demystify and explain what is it, right? And the two things that I've come to the conclusion in talking to a lot of folks is, one, they think it's super expensive. Two, they think it's very technical. And what we're outlining is that, one, you can talk to it just like we're having a conversation and it'll guide you a lot of places. And it's almost free, if not free in a lot of instances, right? So what I would say then is, what I would ask of you then, has it sparked any other interest outside of what you've done in the past several years related to your VX business? Are there other things that you think you may expand into because of AI?
Yes.
That you can talk about?
Yes. Well, it sort of already has, in that I found programming to be like an impossible barrier to cross. I could have an idea for something, but I couldn't execute that idea. And now it's like being able to take an idea to reality is pretty amazing. Like I'm now offering the machine learning head tracking, the 3D head tracking as a service.
Oh.
So a company can come to me and say, hey, we have like 1,000 beauty shots to do. I can turn around 850 to 900 of those in, I don't know, a day or two.
What would have taken you in the past?
Weeks. And you have to hire people and, you know.
So a long time and a lot of money.
Yes, a lot of money. And I can do it for less money. I'm obviously still charging because there was quite a bit of development costs.
You provided value.
Absolutely. Actually, in a way, it's like, should this be just as expensive? Because now you get to start working immediately. There is no bottleneck. Now, I am not charging as much, but you know, it's opened up a place. Here's another one. I have this tool that I developed called AE Pipeline. It's for this software called After Effects. And we had sort of hired people along the way to create these little bits and pieces so that when you bring footage into After Effects, you used to have to when you're working in visual effects, there's a lot of little details in that pipeline. The first frame has to be a slate that has this information on it. You have to have this counter. You have to have all like the color science, all these little details. Now I can set up a project. I can click a button, and now all of the little footage clips that I bring in get built to that spec. And it's adjustable depending on what settings I pick. Then when I go to render it, there's all these different settings you can do to render it. Now, click. I've set up my render settings. I have my button. Cool. That has been developed with coders that I hired and machine learning with Cursor and Claude. I've sort of expanded out those tools as you work on it and you go, ooh, it really shouldn't do that. Well, I know how to explain how to make it different in coding terms, and I can just type in a couple hours, have that functionality without having to go and hire someone, which then you have to explain it to them. And that the amount of people that work in that scripting language for that specific thing, it's not that many. You know, you're explaining something so specific about how this thing needs to work, and they really have to understand it to get there. It takes more time to hire someone than to just do it. So I'm thinking about offering AE Pipeline as a product that you could purchase. And like, I just would have never done that. And now I'm like, oh, I think I could probably do that. So that is a place, coding, that has completely opened up and turned into this like little mini obsession for me.
Well, it's a new business offering.
Yeah.
It's a new opportunity for growth. The thing that people will hear a lot of times, they'll say, well, oh man, he replaced it and he didn't hire him. Like, yeah, but it's not that you necessarily replace it. It was cost prohibitive. It was time prohibitive. It would not have been an actual viable business.
No, I wouldn't have. Yeah.
Right. Like it was not that you would have, you weren't replacing anyone. It wouldn't even be an actual offering. It wouldn't be a business or a service that you could provide.
Right. Some of the tools I would have just said, we'll just keep doing it the old way.
Right.
And some of them I hired people and created. And yeah. But I think if it's a tough enough idea, I'll still go get somebody to work on it for me. It's like, but then it's the continuing development of those ideas that I'm like, you can just do it. It's and it's fun. I mean,
Yeah,
for
one
a
thing,
specific type of nerd, it is fun.
yeah. One thing that keeps playing through my head with this conversation is that a lot of the guests we've had in the past are tied to things that are very highly regulated, or finance or manufacturing, and things that have a lot of red tape. And in your instance, I'm like, oh my gosh, there is no red tape, like total freedom to failure, because like, if not, you just hit the back button, right? And now what you do to just undo something and then boom. So like you have full freedom to lean in and innovate. And so my question for you is, I guess, how do you sit there and evaluate then where to spend your time innovating, right? Because you could do it all day. So how do you say, like, these are the tools I'm going to focus in on? Like, what are you looking for?
If I find something that is a sort of repetitive task, that's something that can be automated. And if I find something that has possibilities for us to make mistakes, we have all this past evidence of places we've made mistakes. There's just so many little details in producing visual effects that like, it's one thing to have mistakes within the actual work you're doing, but there's so many mistakes to be had in uploading a file, telling the person where it is, reporting this. Someone asks you like, hey, you sent something to me 2 weeks ago. Where is that? I have all that information now. I've turned things that used to be like, okay, I gotta find that email from when they want this stuff in very specific ways, right? So it's like when you upload something to me, it has to have this title and it has to have all these things and it has to go to these 10 people. But then when you upload the final, it has to go to these 8 people, which is different from the 10 people, and it has to be in this format. That's all automated now. We've built these tools that you go click, click, click. It's a little UI of the email reporting tool. Boop, done. I have the upload tool where I right click my selected files, upload to this software called F-Track. It goes up there and then it tells you, I've included sort of metadata in there of when it was uploaded, what folder it's in, all that sort of stuff. And like, that just makes the producing job easier. And it makes it so you don't look like you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, I'm looking for repetitive tasks and I'm looking for mistake areas.
But when we talk about AI adoption a lot, and I love the fact that, Erica called out, we've worked a lot with healthcare and financial services, right? These highly regulated, spaces. But the same parallel though is that folks are looking for what are those repetitive tasks, right? That need to be or should be automated, right? Where are these inefficiencies? Where are humans a lot more prone to error, right? There's all this, Erica posted something recently, and it's basically, I'm paraphrasing my own kind of view of it, which is basically all the folks that are looking to point out AI gotchas, AI is going to get you, right? Like if you're spending all of your time just trying to call out the 5%, but not recognizing that humans are wrong 20 or 30% of the time, right?
Oh, in terms of like the hallucinations in AI?
However you want to describe it, right? Whether it's a hallucination or the fact that someone didn't give it enough context to get the right output, right? Or you provided a bunch of dirty data, right? Garbage in, garbage out situation, right? And the thing that I just find rich in is just the fact that people want to focus so much on the 5 or 10%.
Right.
But you gave all these humans...
Yeah, I'm wrong all the time.
They're wrong, but somehow you're okay with that, right?
Right.
People just putting things out there. So I do think that a big takeaway is look for the places where there's repetitive tasks. Look for the places where it's more likely than not to have human error be a significant challenge, right? We always say fast plus sloppy equals slow. Right. Okay. Yeah. You did it.
Yeah. And then you have to do it over and do it over. Oh yeah.
Right. Then how is that better?
Like we developed this tool to do this process. So QC, quality control, quality check. We developed this tool to sort of build the QC step right into the videos that we're rendering. So on our side, I watch everything my partner does. He watches everything I do, and he try to catch these little things. And in visual effects, sometimes there's really, really subtle errors that then if they catch down the line, you got to go back and fix that and redeliver it. Sometimes that takes longer to do than to have done the shot in the first place. So, we automated this, what's it called? It's called the difference pass. It looks like this crazy looking black and white video, but you can spot the weird thing. It kind of overlays the original and the visual effects version and shows you the difference between those two. That's a manual thing that people have been doing for years, but we automated cutting that like into the video that I send him. So now you watch the regular effect and it shows you before, after, the regular effect, the difference pass. And then you can spot it more easily. Where I would have just sent those through to the client. And then if they're like, hey, we noticed there's like a weird glitch there, you look bad. And then you have to do it over. What a waste of time.
The cost associated, we talk about that in software engineering world, right? The exponential cost when you catch an issue later, especially when it gets out into production.
Yes.
If you don't catch it in, during QA or during UAT, and then it moves into production, that cost is exponential. To your point, you will have to redo everything, right? And so the idea of now using AI and these other tools to have greater quality control.
Yeah.
The other thing that you kind of are touching on is one thing I hear a lot about is we talk about 5 C's of humanity a lot, but one of the things people like, basically understanding what is the machine going to be able to do that can't be replaced? Like what can a human do that can't be replaced by the machine, right? Curiosity, creativity, collaboration, all these things, right? But one of the things I've heard a lot about is the word taste, right? What you described, like it can't, there's still going to be this element of quality and taste that AI is not going to replace.
Yeah.
We're going to see something and some person with domain expertise is going to be like, I'm not a chef, but that tastes horrible, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't tell you exactly how to cook it better, but I can tell you that it's not good.
I think that's why you see so much of the Gen AI video stuff is so lame, is so bad. It feels like it's cut incorrectly, it's framed incorrectly, it's just weird because it's being made by people who have no training in that. And like, I guess, so what? They're making bad stuff. Like the cream will rise to the top. There'll be someone eventually. I just had a colleague send me a music video that he made with Gen AI, and he kind of leaned into what it does really well, which is really weird stuff that doesn't have to be perfectly photorealistic. It was for a music video he did. And I was like, hey, this might be one of the first things I've seen that actually uses this tool in like a fun way. And you would have never been able to make this yourself without like a massive amount of resources, which means he would have never made it.
Yeah.
But yeah. And that's a guy, he has taste. He made something super weird and kind of ghoulish. And
we have to actually show this at some point.
Yeah, I'll have to see if.
Yeah, but the point is it worked. He leaned into its strengths and he used it for what
he uses domain expertise, right? There are artists out there because people will talk about like, oh, the art community, maybe upset and this and that. And there are actual like big time artists that are using this, and they're not just producing some one shot prompt that comes out in 5 minutes. They may spend a month on creating this Gen AI inspired art or influence art. And that's the point where people are kind of missing it. It's like, yes, not everything needs to be movie Hollywood, production quality or movie theater. There are different use cases that now people can do. You may be a small business owner that wants to do things. Okay, let's say everybody's moving to videos and imagery. Should I go out of business because I have a landscaping business and I don't have a budget to pay some Hollywood, producer for some commercial? Especially not in an age in which now these tools are available. So that's the part where I really hope that people will lean in more and use these. But we're coming up on time here. What do we got? We got to play the game.
I was going to take you on a left turn out of the techie world that y'all were
okay.
Into,
we're
and that, yes, is because I also love to know how we're using it in our personal world, and that's where our game, last chat.
I'm about to get AI serious.
So we love to know what's on your last chat in your.
Oh, you got to pull your phone on
your phone.
Yeah.
So this is where we get real, we get raw, we get to know each other, right? If you need to add a little bit of context, you totally can. Now, what I will tell you is I'm going to... Oh, he's giggling.
That's funny.
The fact that he's laughing that much, All
right, so go ahead. What was your last chat? What's the context?
This is about sewer line water retention. Yeah.
No.
What's the context here?
My mother-in-law's selling her house, and there was something in the report about water retention down the sewer line. So I took a screenshot of that part, and I put it into Claude, and I said, "Is this a problem?" And it explained, because you get stuff in the home inspection report, and you're like, "Yeah, but is that like a problem? Is that do we need to like actually fix that, or are these people just like nitpicking?"
The recommendation.
And it was like, it's sort of a problem. Like you should probably
look into that one.
So I have a whole thing, and then I followed up with it about what's the, what's going to happen if you leave it, to sort of dig down deeper. Is it a problem?
He's trying to get around it.
And then before that was about using, what was I trying to do? Oh, I was tweaking this tool and how it reported frame numbers using FFmpeg, which is back to the techie stuff. Yeah.
I got to tell you what my last chat was. Well, this is exciting because after our last recording session, I was like, I am so interested in creating multiple chatbots. And so for many people who don't know, in my previous life, I was a personal trainer. And when I moved to North Carolina, I took on a client and I went to her home and I trained her 3 times a week.
Nice.
And that was about 15 years ago. And I still train her to this day.
Oh.
And I know, right? 3 times a week. And so I actually created my own chatbot. I went in, I put in all her demographics, her restrictions, because she's got a shoulder injury and all of this other stuff. And so now I just go to it and I say, hey, we're doing this kind of workout today. Write me that workout. And it gives it to me because I trained it on all my methodology.
So will it do like a modified because she maybe has a certain injury you can't do exactly,
Yep.
Okay.
And all sorts of things. And I gave it the equipment that we use at the house and what we have. And then I even took it a step further. And so now that the weather's getting nicer, she also has a pool. So a lot of times we'll do aerobics, water aerobics and stuff. So I said, great, now give me one, but make it for the pool. And they gave me a perfect workout that fit the time that we like to do, the number of exercises she likes to see. So now I don't have to sit and think every week, like, what did I do the past couple weeks? I don't got to look back through my pages because I told the chatbot as well that like her preferences are to do exercises that she knows. So she likes to see repetition, but not every week. So it gives me a randomized.
If you put me in there, it would be like, all right, I got a 42-year-old Jewish guy. It would be like lower back. Just, you got to do
Yoga. But I was super proud of that. But Greg Boone, what's yours?
Well, I mean, a couple of things on that, just, and I will be quick, I promise this. But so first, you're like the third person that's a personal trainer I know that's used it and talked about it and raved about that, right? Because we talk a lot about hyper-personalization at scale, right? And so the idea is like you created this personal plan, right? Not just a plan. Now you can go back and it can be your thought partner and iterate. Let's say her injuries get better
or
worse. You can modify it. You change the environment, gave it different context. So that's super cool. On the way in this morning, I had a buddy similar to Eric's kind of use case. He reached out and he's like, hey, I took this picture of my my oven hood. He was replacing the hood. And he's like, it says 12 inches on like some piece of it in the manual. He said, but I know because they didn't install it correctly that it's 13 inches because there's a scaff and this and that. He said, so I took a picture and I was asking it. He said, but it didn't really help me. He's like, I don't know if there's gaps in the metadata in this. And I was like, no, don't overthink it. I was like, first of all, you have to choose the right model. You have to also decide whether you want to do deep research or, get some fast input back, right? And so he showed me that, but I'm seeing a lot more people using this in their personal lives outside of recipes and meal plans.
Amen.
I got called out. I call it the Diane rule now. A friend of mine, Diane, said, could you guys please stop talking about recipes on the show? I said, I don't get to decide how people are using these tools. But one of the things I do quite a bit when I use these tools, especially when we have a guest on, I ask it things about the industry that the guest is in. So this time I used ChatGPT's 04 Mini. And I clicked on deep research, meaning it wasn't going to come back in 30 seconds. It was going to come back in 5, 10, 15 minutes right after it checked a bunch of sources. But I asked it, I said, how has the movie and television industry been impacted by AI in the past 12 months? And what do you believe is the lasting impact, right? And the first thing it does a lot of times when you do deep research, it asks you clarifying questions, right? So it was asking US or not, right? And then it says, it gave me a long list over the last 2 years of the impact, the pros and cons, the positive negatives. It cite a bunch of sources. That's the other thing that people need to understand is it is going to get the information from a lot of different places, and it will tell you where it got the sources, not just 100%, hallucinating and say, hey, this is what I think, right? And so you can go back and fact check it, in which you should be the human in the loop. But the point of it was I was trying to learn more about our guest, Eric, the industry that he's in. And it's super fascinating because I'm not going to say that the other industries were boring per se, but this is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of places where machine learning and AI could change filmmaking. And I guess we're wrapping up here, so let's not.
We're at the tip of the
Let's
iceberg.
not,
That's the part
exactly.
2. But Eric, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I mean, super fascinating. It's an industry I know nothing about, so you definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us on AI, Voice or Victim. If you want to stay competitive in the AI age, start now. Take one insight from today's episode and put it into practice in the next 24 hours. Make sure to follow us, share your thoughts, and subscribe for more actionable AI insights. See you next time.